Hello YouTube, my name's Nero and today we have some Call of Duty Advanced Warfare in this week's episode of Dear Nero, which is the weekly series here on my channel where subscribers send me in fan mail and or fan questions. I do best to go ahead and answer them. This gameplay is depressing. If I had to describe this gameplay in one word, it would be sadness. Perhaps another word would be despair, anger, frustration, horribleness. So what's going on in this gameplay is a game of ground war domination on comeback, which is so fun. So much fun to play ground war dom on comeback. It's probably my favorite. Like, if you combine, like, all the different game modes, all different maps, all different kind of stuff you can play into Advanced Warfare, I think Ground War Dom on Comeback is my favorite thing to play in Advanced Warfare. It's so much fun. And you guys know I've been chasing this little dream of mine, I wanted to max out the scoreboard in Advanced Warfare. If you guys don't know, you can basically max out the scoreboard, whereas you can get 9,999 points on the scoreboard. And at that point, it kind of breaks the scoreboard and it won't show any more score on that. Like, you can't go past that anymore. I wanted to max it out a little bit. Well, here's a spoiler. I do that in this gameplay. It's myself and my friend Cardinal playing in here. I do that in this gameplay. I'm just defending B the entire match. I'm not using any lethal kill streaks, throwing up UAVs, throwing up system hacks. We got Cardinal doing the exact same thing, UAVs and system hacks. He also has an assault drone with rockets in there, and you'll be seeing that throughout this gameplay. And we're basically just doing our best to try and win this match, as well as try to max out the scoreboard. Spoiler! We end up maxing out the scoreboard, but things don't exactly go as planned, and you guys will be seeing that throughout the entirety of this gameplay. So sit back, relax, and enjoy that. I think we're gonna have a depressing episode of Dear Nero this week. I was playing a lot of Advanced Warfare last night, and I got some really good games. But for this week's Dear Nero, I think we're gonna be showing you guys the games that don't turn out so well. Not because we didn't do well, but because our teammates. Funny how skill-based matchmaking works. The other team's always pretty good, but your team's always sucks. It's funny how that always ends up working out that way, isn't it? But let's hop into the questions here. The very first question, he's going to write, Dear Nero, since Sledgehammer Games is charging for Exo Zombies, do you think that Treyarch will see this as a money-making opportunity and will start to charge for their zombies? I certainly hope not. Kai from Candy Kingdom. So Kai, I would like to say that I don't feel so Treyarch would end up doing that. Treyarch themselves are the first people in the Call of Duty franchise to implement zombies as a feature of their games, and they've always done it for free, right? The original zombies in World at War was basically an Easter egg that you would get for completing the campaign. Once you completed the campaign of World at War, it would just throw you into your first zombies match on the very first map, Dr. Untoten, and you just end up playing. It was like an Easter egg that if you didn't end up finishing the campaign, you probably wouldn't have heard about. It's pretty interesting. It's definitely a pretty cool thing. How I found out about it was my brother finished the campaign because he cared about the campaign. I was just like all about the multiplayer, and he comes like storming into my room one day. This is like back in 2008, mind you. He comes to storming. He's like, Joe, there's zombies. There's zombies in Call of Duty. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, if you beat the campaign, there's like a zombie thing at the end, like a zombie mission. And I'm like, what? And I went and watched him. I thought that was really cool. Then of course I went and beat the campaign. Then we started playing zombies. Then periodically throughout the year they released more DLC, and that DLC gave us more zombie maps. Those maps included stuff like Barak and Shinonuma as well as Therese. Then you think up to the original Black Ops, zombies was originally in that game. It was a feature from day one. Then of course they added more DLC to it. Same thing with Black Ops 2. There were zombie maps right there on the disc. As soon as you bought the game day one, you had transit and you had the entire green run idea. And then of course they add more stuff with DLC. Treyarch does make a lot of money from zombies, don't get me wrong, but they always give you zombies at least 1 or 2 maps right from the get. And then from that point on, you're like, okay, well, if you want more zombie maps, you're gonna have to buy the different kinds of DLC. That's how they end up making money off their game. A little bit more money than what they usually would make with $60. We talked a couple times about Call of Duty and why hasn't it raised its price point yet. It's costing them so much more and more and more and more and more to make every single year. Why haven't they raised that price? Why haven't any games out there really raised that price from that $60 price point that we've had for ages? And the reason for that is because they try to sell you DLC on top of it to make up that lost cost. That's how it ends up working out. So I feel like Treyarch's going to have zombies in their next game in one way or another, and it's probably going to be there right from the get because they've had 3 games. They have a very good track record with this. They've had 3 games where zombies was a feature and it was in there for free. But if you want extra zombie maps, you had to pay money for it. That's how it's worked in all of their games, and I wouldn't suspect that they would end up changing that formula up with their brand new game. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, a lot of people say that they would like to see another Call of Duty game that takes place in World War II, but you said most of the people went back to Call of Duty 4 when World War came out because most of the weapons were semi-automatic. Do you think the same would happen again if the next or any future Call of Duty game were to take place back in World War II? Fisher from Washington. So Fisher, that's definitely an interesting idea. The idea that most of the rifles in the game would become semi-automatic. Look at your Advanced Warfare games. So look at Black Ops 2. I guess although Black Ops 2 may not be a perfect example because the FAL was super duper popular in that game, but still, you look at like the MK14, you look at the EPM3 in Advanced Warfare, people don't really use those too often. EPM3 I never see. I do occasionally see, I do run across the MK14 now and again. People don't really use semi-automatic weapons. I myself haven't really been using the MK14 because I really can't be bothered to use it. It's like, it's a semi-automatic gun versus all these awesome full auto guns. I could be using an AK-12 right now. I could be using the HPR-A3 right now. It's just so much easier, so much more powerful. You know, just I don't really see a point to use something like the MK14. And that's definitely something that turned off a lot of people. The game itself, World at War, was designed by its design to be a slower game. The maps were a lot bigger than what we saw in Call of Duty 4, and of course, all the weapons in that game, all the rifles anyway, were semi-automatic. If you guys didn't know, that's because in World War II, everything was semi-automatic or bolt action. That's what the weaponry was like in World War II. You don't have full auto assault rifles in World War II, except the Germans had the STG-44, which in fact was the very first assault rifle ever made, and it laid the groundwork for all the other assault rifles in the world, kind of like the AK-47. The AK-47 was made based off of the based upon like the blueprints almost of the STG-44. Keep in mind, STG-44, the German rifle, the Sturmgewehr, was the first assault rifle ever to exist. So aside from that, you had your Gewehr 43s, you had your M1 Garands, you had your Bows and Nagants, and your Kar-98Ks, and your Arasakas, and your M1A1 carbines. You had all these different things, and they were all semi-automatic. I think that turned off a lot of people from the game because they were used to their AK-47s. They were used to their M16s. And for them to all basically run around with their equivalent of a G3, they're like, we don't really like that very much. We went back to Call of Duty 4. A lot of people didn't like that. And of course, there wasn't a ton of other options to really go with. Let's say, for example, you're like, I like assault rifles, but there's no full auto assault rifles in this game, so I guess I'm going to turn to a submachine gun player. Then you look at World at War, there's only 4 submachine guns in the game. There was the MP40, ridiculously overpowered. There was a Thompson, there was the Type 100, and there was the PPSH, right? There was 4 different submachine guns you could run around with. The heavy weapons were pretty good. The Browning, the MG42, both very, very good. Sniper rifles were a whole lot of fun, but I think ultimately what really kind of held that game back was the fact that all the rifles were semi-automatic, whereas people were used to full auto rifles. They liked full auto rifles a whole lot more. I think that would hold back people a lot. That's why I'm really hesitant to see if we'll ever see a World War II Call of Duty again. You know, that's something I wonder if we're ever going to see, just because the idea of having all the rifles be semi-automatic. And if we were to see a World War II game, is it possible? Is it possible that we would end up seeing something like what we had with Origins, the zombies map? Now, this is brought up by a friend of mine named Cypher. He brought this up to me and kind of pointed out to me, and I'm like, that's an awesome idea. He said that he would like to see the next Treyarch game be set in like an alternate reality of the Origins universe, right? That kind of idea, like the entire idea where it's almost like a steampunk kind of theme, and you've got like a bunch of different stuff going on with it, like a bunch of different weapons as a result of that. It's complete, once again, it's alternate timeline, alternate reality, so we can still be in that World War II setting, but have different kinds of things going on as well. And that would be, that'd make it so we could probably have more full auto stuff, and we can have different kinds of crazy laser stuff if we wanted, or more steampunk style stuff, whatever. That would be an interesting idea. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, do you think YouTube is killing Call of Duty, like exploiting it? For example, showing off the best class setup, how to rank up faster, showing all the OP guns in the game. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Keep up the great work. Nick from California. Nick, I would say Call of Duty is doing just fine with YouTube. In fact, YouTube is one of the biggest reasons Call of Duty is as big as it is. If you didn't know, because chances are most people haven't been around this long, Call of Duty, the Call of Duty community, has been on YouTube since about Call of Duty 2. Yeah, Call of Duty 2. How many of you played Call of Duty 2? Raise your hand. Well, you raising your hand. I can't even see you raise your hand. But how many people played Call of Duty 2? Seriously, how long ago was that? I didn't even play Call of Duty 2. I went back after the fact and saw what it was like, but I didn't do that. But Call of Duty 2 itself had a presence on YouTube. Right? It did. It had a presence on YouTube. People were putting up montages and quick scoping and stuff like that. And of course, it wasn't as in-depth as it is today, where we're breaking down the guns by the coding in the game and exactly how much damage and stuff it's doing. But there were people out there that would make these kinds of montages and stuff. And of course, Call of Duty 3 had the same thing. And Call of Duty 4 was really when the big spike hit with YouTube. That's when a lot of people started doing commentaries and stuff like that. And YouTube really kind of became a thing. And then, of course, during Modern Warfare 2, that's when Machinima kind of became prevalent and people started getting YouTube partnerships and stuff like that. I feel as though Call of Duty itself has actually benefited from the YouTube community in the same way that Minecraft has, to be honest. I mean, of course, Call of Duty was a pretty popular game beforehand, but I think one of the reasons it continues to be popular and it continues to grow is the fact that we have this giant community here on YouTube where so many people are into it. Like, Call of Duty is a fun game, and it's a big name brand game that a lot of people are like, okay, I've heard of Call of Duty, I'm going to try it. Oh, wow, I'm really not that great at it. Let's see if there's some tips on the internet. Then you find just this giant library from videos from me, videos from Drifter, videos from from T-Mart, videos from everybody, all your favorite Call of Duty YouTubers, just this giant library and catalog of different videos, different people expressing different ideas and different setups and different strategies, and just talking about the game of Call of Duty itself every single year. That's one of the reasons Call of Duty is as big as it is. So people like think that it's killing Call of Duty somehow, and so I can see how people would think that, but those people are really just the kind of selfish people. You know, they're the people out there who are like, I know this amazing strategy and nobody else should, and it's annoying that everyone else does because they know how to counter it now and stuff like that. It makes the game a little bit harder. It's actually improving the Call of Duty fan base as players as a result of that. And I think the only people that say that YouTube and this online community we have, even not YouTube, you think of the idea of like forums and just websites talking about this kind of thing, not even just YouTube, but you talk about like the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare subreddit, things like that. If you think that it's bad that people are talking about the game and everybody's collectively getting better at it and learning more and more and more about it, then you're just a selfish player that wants to know all that stuff for yourself just so you can have the self-satisfaction of taking out everybody and getting a bunch of kills and stuff like that for yourself. It's really kind of selfish. I mean, overall, the Call of Duty, once again, is benefiting more than anything from the YouTube community, and yeah, it's been a part of it. YouTube's helped shape what Call of Duty is. I think Call of Duty has made the changes it has over the years because of the community itself, and I don't know, man, I can never get in line with the idea that YouTube is killing Call of Duty. If anything, it's making Call of Duty what it is. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, what is your greatest achievement? Malcolm from Maryland. So Malcolm, I would say my greatest achievement is the fact that I can work from home while doing something I love. When most of my life, a lot of people said that playing video games was a waste of time. And I think with the success I've had here on YouTube and how I've been able to have this as a career for 3 years now, I think that really it's kind of like a spit back in the face. It's like, you know, it wasn't a waste of time. No, I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm successful at what I do. I think that's the best part of it, you know. Being able to be fortunate enough to end up having a job doing something you love, something you want to do every single day. I think that's definitely the best part. I think it's my greatest achievement in my young life. Keep in mind, I'm only 23 years old. I haven't had a family or raised kids or anything like that yet, but so far, I definitely think my YouTube channel is my greatest achievement. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I remember back in the Black Ops 2 days, you would use the Blitzkrieg method on opponents and destroy them. I was hoping you could consider doing that again. I love that style of play, and I love the way you just went around smacking everybody. Please consider doing that again. Brian from New York. So what Brian's talking about, some of you guys maybe weren't around on my channel back during Black Ops 2, is I would always play with my friends and subscribers, right, in Black Ops 2. I would have open lobbies all the time. I would constantly invite people in off of Twitter, stuff like that. We would always basically have a full party, and we would go and play Ground War. And this idea I came up with, and I even have a montage around this entire idea, is the idea of Blitzkrieg. Right, what is Blitzkrieg? It's something the Germans end up using. It's basically lightning warfare. You go really fast, you in and out, take out everybody, and that's what we would do. So basically, we would we play ground war domination, and we would triple cap the whole game. We didn't care. Like tradition dictates in Call of Duty that you get B, and then you get back flag, and you try to trap the opposing team at a different flag. But we decided not to do that in Black Ops 2 because we decided it was a lot more fun to do it this way. So instead of just capping 2 flags and trying to keep them at the other flag, we would take all 3. And we would just massacre them the whole game. Like, we would win every match like 200-20, and the matches would last like really no time at all because we were just getting scores so ridiculously quickly, and we were all just throwing in Hellstorm missiles and lightning strikes and VSATs and UAVs. Like, everyone just had these up going all the time, like non-stop, just Hellstorms and lightning strikes and Hellstorms and lightning strikes, and like every time like they would spawn up on a different flag, try to capture it, and there was a Hellstorm missile waiting for them. There was a lightning strike waiting missile. It was just so much fun. It was just so much fun playing that Blitzkrieg, and I would do that. You know, you say, would you consider doing that again? We didn't really do that much in Call of Duty Ghost, and we didn't really do that much here in Advanced Warfare so far because I don't have people to play with. I can't do it with just me and Cardinal. Me and Cardinal can't do that. It's just the 2 of us. We need a group. We need a whole group of people. And you say, well, Nero, what happened to all your friends? It's like, well, I mean, people grow up, I suppose. The people I was playing with a lot back during Black Ops 2, they grow up. You know, you used to see a lot of people on my channel that had SB in their name. We had a whole group of us. You know, we would have full parties in Ground War, just all of us with SB in our name. These are people I've been playing with since, you know, World of War, Modern Warfare 2 and those times. But, you know, life happens. You know, people end up getting married, people end up having children, people end up getting jobs, people end up moving, people end up going to college, things like that. That's what happened to a lot of them, and really there's not a lot of people left. I occasionally talk to Cypher, even though he doesn't play Call of Duty anymore, and I can usually talk to Cardinal. Cardinal is usually on. He's usually ready to go. If I want to play Advanced Warfare, I'd be like, hey Cardinal, you want to come play Advanced Warfare? And he's usually down for that. But aside from that, I really don't have people to play with anymore in terms of my friends. And you say, well, why don't you play in subscribers? And I try to do that, and I don't don't usually end up getting a lot of messages off of Twitter, because even when I do get a bunch of those messages, the Xbox One really kind of stinks, and the invites don't work half the time. This is not a problem I'm having. I was on Twitter the other day, and Drifter was having the exact same problem. Just when you send out these invites, for whatever reason, a lot of time they can't connect to you, and it's really kind of annoying that it ends up happening. But I do get subscribers in when I can, but another problem is I don't end up playing Call of Duty till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, because my sleep schedule is just completely awful, and at that point, everyone's always asleep, and I haven't really played Call of Duty with a full party in quite a long time. I really kind of miss that. Even if it's, you know, my friends, or if it's with subscribers, I don't care. I just like playing Call of Duty with a full party and just having fun, just running through, taking out people. That's what I really enjoy about Call of Duty. So I would like to bring back that Blitzkrieg method of play. It's really a lot of fun. And I think there's some really cool stuff you could do with it in Advanced Warfare, definitely. I mean, how cool would it be if, you know, you got a bunch of people on your team, everyone's throwing down UAVs constantly, then you've got, of course, a bunch of missile strikes coming in, you have a bunch of assault drones with rockets flying around, that kind of idea. It'd be fun. It'd definitely be fun to see. We'll have to see if I can start getting some more open lobbies going. We can maybe try that out here in the near future. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, with the new tuning of weapons coming to Advanced Warfare, it got me to think about weapon balance. Do you believe that complete weapon balance can be achieved in general? Also, what game do you think had the best weapon balancing? Love the videos. Sincerely, Cameron from Georgia. So Cameron, first and foremost, that's a very, very interesting question, which I think we all need to kind of ask ourselves, is the idea of complete weapon balance possible? Is that possible to even achieve in a Call of Duty game? Because you think back to older Call of Duty games, there's always the best gun. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, there will be a best gun in the game. Back in Call of Duty 4, there was kind of a handful of guns, which was pretty nice. The MP5 and the P90 and the 74U, all very, very, very good weapons. AK-47 and as well as the M16 were basically the go-to assault rifles. And those 5 weapons were really what people used all the time. Those are really only the weapons people would use. If you wanted to try anything aside from those 5 weapons, chances are you would be at a big disadvantage. You try using like the Scorpion, you try using one of the shotguns, you try using something like the Uzi, you try using one of the LMGs. You were at a disadvantage to any of those guns. M4 Carbine was pretty good as well. I should throw that in there. M4 Carbine was pretty good. But aside from that, you're really kind of at a disadvantage. That's what it was like. World of War, MP40, completely, by far, best gun in the game. M1A1 Carbine, also pretty good. Modern Warfare 2, pretty balanced. Pretty balanced. But something you should keep in mind is the idea of weapon balance in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was really kind of offset by the idea that everybody was more or less focused on the fact that danger close grenade launchers existed. You know, so we couldn't really tell how balanced those weapons were. I think definitely the UMP-45 was the best SMG. You look at the assault rifles, you think the ACR was definitely great. The FAMAS was ridiculous. One of, if not the best burst rifle in the game, in the history of Call of Duty, so ridiculously good. Would weapon balance actually be an issue in Modern Warfare 2 if the grenade launchers and danger close didn't exist? You know, you gotta ask yourself that. Black Ops 1, obvious, right? Very simple. The FAMAS, completely broken. AK-74 before it was nerfed, completely broken. You look at Modern Warfare 3, MP7, ACR. You look at Black Ops 2, it's definitely a lot closer. I think Black Ops 2 had a really, really good weapon balance, but still you had the MSMC there, and you had the M8A1. They were both very, very powerful weapons, but most of all, I think the MSMC was like the most used of all the weapons, so it could be considered the best gun, but still, you look at the MP7, very, very good. Scorpion Evo could be good. Then you look at Call of Duty Ghost, relatively balanced. Honey Badger was kind of ridiculous, and then, of course, there were other ones. The Vector were what kind of ran rampant for a bit, and yeah, weapon balance was pretty good in Call of Duty Ghost, but wasn't perfect. I don't think it was as good as it was in Black Ops 2. And then Advanced Warfare, Ball 27, ASM1, ruining everybody's fun time. So, but to answer your question, is it possible to achieve complete weapon balance in a game? No, I guess it isn't. The only way to achieve perfect weapon balance would be every single weapon is the exact same and it's all the exact same category, right? It would all have to be submachine guns. They would all have to have the exact same stats. You can't have assault rifles in your game because assault rifles are better at range, and that's an unfair advantage. If you look at sniper rifles, that's an unfair advantage at range. It's impossible, I feel as though, to achieve perfect weapon balance in a game, and even then, statistically, there is going to be a weapon that, on paper, just by its sheer stats, its range, and the combination of its range and its damage and its accuracy and its fire rate and all that stuff, it's going to be better. There's going to be a gun that is better than the rest of them, right? But to answer your other question, what game do I feel so had the best weapon balancing? Probably Black Ops 2, with Modern Warfare 2 being a close second, although it's really kind of hard to judge Modern Warfare 2 because we were all focused on the danger close grenade launchers that were being shot at us constantly, so it's really kind of hard to tell with Modern Warfare 2. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, do you like to write? I love writing for fun, and my dream is to get published. Daniel from the USA. So Daniel, I used to like writing, but I never did it as like a hobby of anything. I would do it in school when I was kind of required to do it, and apparently I was pretty good at it. I wrote an essay. I'm trying to remember what it was about. I believe it was, what does a hero mean to you? I think was the topic of that essay. And that essay itself won me some awards. It got me some kind of award down with the local VFW. And then apparently I ended up hearing about this because I have cousins and stuff like that are younger than me. They kept my essay that year in class and they used it as an example, and everybody had to read it every single year as an example of what a good essay is when they would write that essay. And so I was pretty good at writing all throughout my scholastic years, all the way from early elementary school up until the end of high school. I was always pretty good at writing. It just I've never been interested in it as like a journalist. I'm wondering, when you say you want to be published, I don't know if you enjoy writing as you want to be an author of some kind. You want to tell a story, you want to make a series of novels, you want to make a book, you want to write a book, you want to do something like that, or if you want to be somebody that like a news journalist in a way, somebody that covers games media, and somebody that writes articles for something like Giant Bomb, or somebody that does stuff for GameSpot or something like that. You want to write stuff like that, or maybe you're into sports, you want to start writing for Sports Illustrated or write for, I don't know, NFL.com, something like that. You didn't really specify with that. You say you want to be published, but I was never interested in that aspect of it. Although, if YouTube were to somehow fall through, I think it would be pretty awesome to write for one of those games websites, or maybe write for something. Like, once again, like Sports Illustrated, write for something like NFL.com, become like a sports journalist, something like that. I think that'd be pretty interesting as well, because it's, at the end of the day, you're working in a field that you really, really enjoy, and I think that's one of the biggest things I like most about YouTube is it's gaming. I get to make videos about gaming and express myself every single day in one way or another. That's the coolest part about it, and writing is a pretty close parallel to that. If I'm making videos, other people are writing. It's really the kind of same, I mean, there's a distinct parallel there, so I could definitely see why people enjoy writing. Just for me personally, it's not something I've really done ever since I, was done with school. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I've been wondering, with all the time that you put into Hearthstone, will you ever try to play Magic the Gathering, the paper version? Thanks and have a wonderful life, and this person did not leave his or her name. So I have played a lot of Hearthstone. Magic the Gathering, I would say, is probably one of, if not the biggest card game. He's talking about the paper version as well, so you're talking about, with actual cards, playing with that. I don't think I would ever actually get into that, because no matter what, I mean, what's the point? Unless I wanted to start going to, like, different kinds of group meetings and stuff like that, I don't really see the point in doing that, because I don't plan on ever going to like some kind of a Magic the Gathering event where we could all play Magic the Gathering against each other. I did play Magic the Gathering back in, like, let's see, I would have been in 5th grade, so late elementary school, early middle school, somewhere in that range, I suppose. Roughly about 4th or 5th grade, we would play Magic the Gathering. We had cards. I don't think any of us knew how to play, to be honest. I think we just kind of made up our own rules, and like everybody had like collectively this agreement that these are the rules and these are how we're going to abide by them. I remember we would play Yu-Gi-Oh as well. And I think we had a pretty close understanding of how Yu-Gi-Oh worked and how you were to play the card game Yu-Gi-Oh. But I think we mostly just made up our own rules based upon how they played on the TV show. Because the TV show, the rules seem to be a lot different than like the rule book you would actually read when you purchase a starter deck or something like that. But the thing about that is, though, who are you going to play against? If you play a paper card game like that, who are you going to play against? I would have to find people that are also into Magic the Gathering. I would have to end up going over to their house or have them come over to see me, and we would start playing Magic the Gathering occasionally. Like every Friday, we play Magic the Gathering. It seems like a really hard thing to put together, and that's where Hearthstone comes in. That's where the idea of having these online card games is so much better, in my opinion, than playing the paper version. I see people, you enjoy the paper version, you like the old school way of doing things, and I get that, and I understand that, and I can totally respect that. But for me, the idea of trying to get into a new card game like Magic the Gathering, which I don't even know how to play, nor have I have any real interest in playing it, I would have to figure out how to play it. I'd have to buy decks, and apparently Magic the Gathering is really pay to win, by the way, and I would have to find people to go ahead and play with. I'd have to go to these events and stuff like that just to be able to play the game, whereas with Hearthstone, I can open up battle.net, open up Hearthstone, and it's there. I could instantly, within 20 seconds, be put into a match against somebody and play the game. That's the beauty of Hearthstone. That's the beauty of of online card games. That's why I feel as though they're going to be pretty big. That's why I feel as though Hearthstone's going to be giant. Not to mention the fact that it's set in the Warcraft universe and all the people are brought in from that. Then you look at the fact it's made by Blizzard, who everybody loves for everything. Like, everything Blizzard puts out is a freaking just an instant classic, apparently. So like, Blizzard is ridiculous, and it's Hearthstone, and they're continuing to put out cards, and eventually I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to be as big as Magic the Gathering. It's going to be out for as long as Magic the Gathering. So that's definitely kind of a cool thing. One of the downsides I would say to a game like Hearthstone and the idea of an online card game is the very fact that it's all online. And so if they were ever to, shut down the services for one reason or another, it's like, okay, well, all that money you spent on the game, all that time you put into the game, I mean, it's all gone. It's all gone. The cards are, I mean, the cards are all virtual, right? It doesn't really matter. It's all kind of gone. So I would hope that in the future, if they were to shut down Hearthstone for whatever reason, picture 10 years from now, they decide, okay, not enough people are playing Hearthstone, we're not making any more expansions for it, we're just going to kind of shut down the servers on it eventually, right? If they were to do that, I would like for them to at least have an offline version so where you can keep all the cards that you've purchased and earned over the years, whether you bought it with real money or if you purchased it with in-game currency. It'd be nice if you would be able to, keep the game, have it become like an offline game where you could play against the AI, and the AI would have varying difficulties or something like that. That way you don't feel as though you've wasted all your time. But I guess that's the one plus side I see to having an actual paper version of a card game, is the fact that you actually own the cards. They're physically there, you have them, and you never end up losing them. Whereas with an online game, if they were to eventually shut down the online game, you'd probably end up losing them. Next and final question. He's gonna write, Dear Nero, ever since I got an Xbox 360 in 2012, I've been addicted to video games. Not possible. Recently, I've been experiencing a dry spell with gaming, and I find myself unmotivated to play any kind of games. I first noticed this when I found myself bored playing Pokemon Omega Ruby. Now I spend most of my time convincing myself to play games and looking through my Steam library than actually playing them. I was wondering if you've ever experienced a gaming dry spell like this. Some shady from Detroit. So first and foremost, I don't think it's possible to be addicted to video games. There's no chemicals involved there. There's no actual addiction. It's a mental addiction. It's a psychological addiction, which is something that can be broken just through sheer will. Keep that in mind. But have I ever been through a dry spell with video games? I think, not recently. Not since I really got into gaming, I suppose. Of course, growing up, I played the Sega Genesis, I played the Game Boy Color, played a lot of Pokemon games, and occasionally PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. But I was never really super duper into it. I was never a giant into the games. But then when, of course, when Call of Duty 4 came out, that's when I got really big into Call of Duty. Then from there, it branched out into all these other games, and I've just been playing games ridiculously for about 6 years now, and I really haven't gotten tired of it. I feel as though maybe you just need to try playing new games, because for me, anyway, there's always a new game to play. There's always a new story to see. There's always a new adventure to unfold. There's always some new strategy to learn. There's always some character to level. There's always some gun to acquire. There's always something to do in video games, and I enjoy it. Occasionally, though, I do kind of feel blah. It's like, I just don't feel like playing anything, and that's maybe because you get a little bit burnt out from it. If all you do is play video games, that's something you just do a ton of. Occasionally, you're just going to kind of get tired of it, and at that point, go watch TV, go outside, go watch a movie or something like that. You don't need to, just sit there and play video games all the time, especially if you're not enjoying it, because, ladies and gentlemen, I will hammer this home with you every single chance I get. It is your leisure time. Video games, you do that during your leisure time. And if you're not enjoying your leisure time, then you need to find something else to do, because that is your time. That is the time that you have, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy yourself, to relax. You're not working. You're not at school. You're not doing whatever it is you don't want to do. During your leisure time is your time to do whatever it is you kind of feel like doing. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, well, you need to change things up, because you're supposed to enjoy yourself during your leisure time. It's a very short life, ladies and gentlemen, that we live, and it's your job to enjoy it as much as humanly possible. Of course, we all have responsibilities. We all have work. Some of us have school. Some of us have families. We have responsibilities. And during our leisure time, you should enjoy that. Times when you don't have responsibilities, you should definitely be enjoying yourself as much as humanly possible. So if you're feeling unmotivated to play really any video games, maybe find some different ones, or maybe try something else for a bit. If you stop playing a game and then eventually you go back to it, you'll enjoy it a ton. Like we just talked about Hearthstone in the last question. I really stopped enjoying Hearthstone. It just, the net decking has taken over. I've really not enjoyed Hearthstone for a while, so I haven't really played it for 2 months. I haven't really played for 2 months. I would get myself up to rank 20 just to earn my card back, but then I just really wouldn't play. I haven't played Hearthstone really in 2 months, but recently I'm getting back into Hearthstone after taking that long of a break from it, because it's fun to play again. It's fun to go through all my cards. It's fun to, put together different kinds of decks. It's fun. I enjoy that. So take a break from whatever you're bored of, whatever you're kind of just burnt out on. Try out something new, whether it's a video game, whether it's a different kind of hobby. Maybe take up reading, maybe take up stamp collecting, whatever it is you're into, right? But just enjoy your leisure time. Enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very short life we live. And that is this week's episode of Dear Nero. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating where you guys feel it deserves. And that gameplay that you guys watched, I'm still sad about it. I'm still sad about those gameplays, man. Doing so good. Trying our best. Trying our hardest to win. You saw how hard I was trying in those games. And we still end up losing. It's like, why? But, ladies and gentlemen, I did get some awesome, some amazing, if I dare say, TAC 19 gameplay, which is nice, man. I'm really enjoying the TAC 19 as of late. So hopefully we'll be showing off some videos of that here within the coming weeks. But if you guys would like to submit your guys' questions for next week's episode of Dear Nero, all you really need to do is go to my YouTube channel, go to the About tab, and from there you'll find the Send Message button. And from there you can send your message. Be sure, if you want to send your stuff for Dear Nero, to start your message with the phrase Dear Nero. That way when I'm scrolling through all my messages, I can easily find the ones that are specifically sent for Dear Nero. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be featured on next week's episode of Dear Nero. If you submit a question that is good and awesome and interesting and thought-provoking and not one that I've answered a million times, hopefully you guys can go ahead and do that. Once again, though, I sincerely hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Dear Nero. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.